In a small village called Amara, there lived a famous doctor named John. He owned the biggest hospital in the region, and people came from far and wide to be treated by him. Dr. John was rich, with several cars, a mansion, and expensive clothes. But his wealth came from evil deeds hidden behind his kind smile. Dr. John wasn't like other doctors. While most doctors saved lives, he destroyed them. He had a dark secret. He sold innocent children to ritualists in exchange for money and power. Parents who brought their sick children to his hospital often left empty-handed, never to see their children again. He always had excuses, saying the child died or was transferred to another hospital. The truth? Those children were sold for his selfish gain. If anyone dared to speak against him or question his actions, Dr. John dealt with them ruthlessly. He had powerful connections with dangerous people, and anyone who exposed his wickedness mysteriously disappeared. Some were poisoned, others were found dead in accidents that weren't accidents at all. Dr. John's wickedness didn't end there. He abused his position of power to take advantage of young women, especially nurses who came for interviews. These young women were desperate for jobs and thought working in his hospital would secure their future. But Dr. John demanded favors they couldn't refuse. If they resisted, he made sure they never got the job or ruined their reputation in the community. Despite his evil ways, Dr. John continued to live like a king, and the villagers remained afraid of him. Nobody had the courage to stand up to him. The turning point: one day, a new nurse named Jane came to work at Dr. John's hospital. Jane was different from the others. She was brave, intelligent, and very observant. From her first week at the hospital, she noticed strange things. Children brought in for treatment would disappear without proper explanations. Families were always told the same story: the child didn't make it. Jane grew suspicious. She also noticed that some nurses quit their jobs suddenly, refusing to talk about why they left. Rumors about Dr. John's behavior were whispered around the hospital, but nobody dared to speak openly. One evening, Jane overheard a conversation between Dr. John and a strange man. Hiding behind the door, she listened as they discussed money and how many bodies the man needed. Jane's heart raced. She realized Dr. John was selling children to ritualists. Terrified but determined, Jane decided to act. She couldn't let this evil continue. She reached out to a local journalist named Elle, known for exposing corruption. Together, they started gathering evidence against Dr. John. Gathering evidence, Jane secretly recorded Dr. John's conversations and took photos of the strange visitors who came to his office late at night. She also talked to families who had lost their children and convinced them to share their stories. Slowly, the pieces of the puzzle came together. Elle, the journalist, published an article exposing Dr. John's wickedness. The story spread like wildfire. At first, Dr. John denied everything, calling it lies from jealous people. But the evidence was too strong to ignore. The police launched an investigation, and soon they uncovered the truth. They found records of the children Dr. John had sold, along with proof of his dealings with ritualists. They also discovered how he had been silencing those who spoke against him. The fall of Dr. John: one fateful day, as Dr. John sat in his luxurious office, police officers stormed the hospital. They arrested him in front of his staff and patients. Crowds gathered outside, shouting and cursing him. Mothers who had lost their children wept bitterly, while others threw stones at him as he was led away in handcuffs. Dr. John's mansion was raided, and more shocking evidence was found: bank records, ritualist contacts, and even personal notes detailing his evil plans. The villagers couldn't believe the man they once respected was capable of such wickedness. The trial was swift. Witnesses came forward, including Jane, the brave nurse who risked her life to expose the truth. Families of the missing children testified, and the ritualists who worked with Dr. John also confessed under pressure. Dr. John was found guilty of multiple crimes, including child trafficking, murder, and abuse of power. The judge sentenced him to life imprisonment, and his hospital was shut down. A lesson for the villagers. Dr. John's downfall served as a lesson for the villagers. They realized the importance of standing up against evil, no matter how powerful the person may seem. Jane became a hero in the community, and her courage inspired others to speak out against injustice. From that day on, the villagers were more cautious about who they trusted. They learned that not all who smile are kind, and not all who appear good have good intentions. Dr. John, once the richest man in Amara, spent the rest of his life in prison, where he had no one to exploit and no wealth to enjoy. His story became a warning for others: no matter how long evil thrives, it will always meet its end. The tale of Dr. John reminds us that wickedness may bring temporary wealth and power, but it will always lead to disgrace and destruction. It also teaches us the value of bravery and standing up for what is right, even when it seems dangerous. In the end, good will always triumph over evil.